Today is Saturday, March 11th, 2023. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Stacy, and I'll be your host today. Just me this week, kids. Week 2, we got a lot of great insight into tribe life, so we'll be talking about that today. Obviously, there's the birdcage idols and how that played out at Soka and Tika, and fans have a lot to say about that, as well as the tribe dynamics at Tika. And there'll be a little bit extra to share from the interviews and anything else that comes up along the way, any questions. So without further ado, we've got 19 superfans queued up to weigh in on week 2 of Survivor 44. Let's kick it off with Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Now, it was unfortunate we only had a 1-hour episode, but this was a very solid episode 2, and I feel like we did see a lot of content and a very good immunity challenge. So I'm going to let out a great big woo! Yeah, baby. And my goodness, guys, I have to start with that crazy woman, Carolyn. What in the world is she smoking? You know, I'm thinking about what you said, Joanne, and you're right. Carolyn is Carolyn, for sure. However, her voice, when I hear her voice, reminds me of listening to Paula Penderstone for some reason. But nevertheless, guys, I could not believe, of all people on that team, she was the one that found the key to the bird cage. She got what was in it, idol, but she goes under the shelter, realizes that she left the cage empty. Somehow Lady Luck was on her side. She put it back, but her tribe mates had great self-awareness, realizing that it wasn't what it was before there, and they were suspicious. But somehow Carolyn, they didn't suspect she had the idol. She was on the block for other reasons, being the weakest link there. But man, guys, I had a feeling this team would lose, but I didn't think Helen would get blindsided. It's a shame, because Helen, I feel like, I'm sure you guys agree, especially you, Stacy, that she offered a lot from a strategy point of view. She was good in challenges, especially puzzles. I think they're going to miss her from working the puzzles, I feel like. They might lose next week, too, but I'm glad Jam is still there. He's so funny with the camera. And man, Carolyn, I don't think she's going to be able to keep that a secret for long with the idol. Who knows? But then again, Sarah now, she loses her top ally there, and Carson, man, who would have thought he'd be so smart? He did his homework. He's playing both sides of the fence there. I think they're going to watch out for him. And then with the other teams, real quick, guys, glad the Orange team won. Brandyn, he's looking all right for now, but I was more surprised with Matthew toughing it out with the arm after his major blunder last week. And give him credit, he did the challenge, and not only that, he won the challenge for his team when he got the ball through the hole there, and that isn't easy to do. You have one arm that's basically almost out of commission, but I give that guy credit, and he knew that challenge too. And then the other team there, well, that team, if they go hands down, Matt Blankenship and Franny better watch out, or maybe Claire, because Claire is playing the Sandra game, sitting out twice. She offers nothing, which I'm sure you guys agree to, but I think Matt and Franny are the two in the chopping block there. Watch out. Because you never want to see a Survivor couple. That is a major no-no. But I'm loving this season, loving this cast. I don't know how much longer Carolyn can keep her mouth shut with that idol. Now I want to see if there's any extra clips and hear Prope's podcast of what he reveals. Should be good, guys. Can't wait for next week. Woo!
Whoa, thanks, Pete. Yeah, there were 3 extra clips that I came across this week. There were 2 that I saw on Survivor on CBS. And then the other one, each week, Entertainment Weekly, EW.com, will have an extra clip that doesn't get released under that CBS feed. And that one by far was best. I highly recommend checking that one out. It was over at the Soka tribe, and they had a little bit of a crisis and a search. And anyway, it was really fun. Gives you some more insight into those tribe dynamics. And if you're a fan of Danny, you'll definitely want to check out that extra clip. Probst's podcast had some good stuff in it. I enjoyed the part where he talked about a couple of idols that had never been found by the players. They were in the game, but they didn't, or advantages, but they didn't realize they were there. Yeah, there's some good stuff in that too. I liked it also because it gives you a little more insight, at least about how Probst thinks about everything. And it was, it was good because it showed me there was less thought than I had expected. I thought that they were working a lot harder at things, and to hear him tell it, they're just trying different stuff, see if it sticks to the wall or not. And they didn't have, it doesn't sound like they've got a really reasoned approach to some aspects of some of their planning. So that was interesting to hear, nonetheless, to see, what that process is like. Good stuff. Thanks, Pete. Next up, we got a call from Robert.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in with my listener feedback. Well, I thought that this was a pretty decent episode. We got to learn a little bit more about the birdcage and the kind of role it's going to play in this season. And I think of all the new twists that they've tried out in recent years, that this one's not that bad. It was at least interesting seeing how differently Carolyn and Danny played it. And speaking of Carolyn, I think my opinion on her began to shift a little bit this episode. In a way, it's almost kind of reminiscent of my feelings of Gabler early on in his season. I think what we're seeing on TV is the most exaggerated version of Carolyn. And of course, the editors are going to play up on that for entertainment, but I do think there's a little bit more than meets the eye. Carolyn gave me one of my favorite moments this episode too, where she laid down in the middle of a conversation in the jungle and then sprung back up and said, "I'm not normal." I thought that was really funny. I also enjoyed the whole sequence of Danny finding his idol and talking about how he was going to keep it a secret. I think he's going to be really entertaining going forward. As far as the JSFL goes and the side challenge, I didn't end up having Carolyn as my vote off this week like I originally intended to do for not only this vote but the rest of the game. Instead, like you, Joanne, I pegged Jamie as my vote out. And what's worse is I had Helen as a safe point this week, so I lost that. Going in this episode, I really couldn't picture any scenario where she could be going home, but anyway, that's what happened. And I think it's too bad because Helen seemed like a very savvy player. And I wonder if there's more clues that Carson was going to flip on her than what we were shown. But anyway, so yes, here I am, hanging out in the basement with Stacy in the side challenge. Which isn't that terrible a place. Last season, I think I was in the basement going into the finale, and I ended up 1 point behind Parker. So we're just lurking around in the basement, hiding in plain sight until we ascend the leaderboard. As far as my quick thoughts for next week, definitely take these with a grain of salt, considering I thought Helen, Carson, and Sarah had a tight alliance. I think if Soka goes to Tribal, that Matt and Franny could be an easy target. People like breaking up couples early. I think if Tika goes to Tribal, Sarah's going to go home, and I think that's probably the most likely scenario, which would be a shame because we wouldn't be able to see the inheritance advantage being used effectively in the game. But anyway, I think that's where I'm going for now, but I look forward to hearing all the other fans' feedback. And that's it for me. You guys just take care.
Good deal. Thanks, Robert. That's some solid logic. I guess the biggest thing that we didn't know that I heard in Helen's exit interviews was that Sarah had told both Helen and Carson that she lost her vote. So you can imagine how then that impacts everything. The best case that Carson, Helen, and Sarah as an alliance could hope for would be a 2-2 tie with Carolyn and Jam Jam. That's why Sarah was so adamant about trying to get Jam Jam over onto their side. But Carson play in the middle, and Helen said that he did a great job of making those connections. In fact, her biggest regret was that she didn't make more social connections with Jam Jam and Carolyn, and she fell into a role where she let Carson manage that. So Carson had that insight, saw they were headed for a tie, given what Jam Jam was saying that he hadn't shared with Helen and Sarah when the four of them were talking. And I think he just made the obvious best choice for him at that point. So there's definitely more at work behind the scenes. Thanks, Robert. Next up, we got a call from Brandyn.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. It's another week, another episode of Survivor, episode 2 in the books. And what an episode it was. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I did think it was a bit short. The time in between episodes is difficult to deal with after binging so many seasons. It's just kind of torturous having 6 days before I get to watch another hour of this show. But I'm really enjoying what I've seen so far. This week, I loved seeing my USB, Matthew the Barber, excel in the challenge. But I do worry that his confession about building the challenge could cause him to have a target on his back. Maybe not while in Raw 2. Maybe he's getting in good with them. But once that potential merge hits, everyone else knows that he is somebody that has prepared quite a bit for this. And I would probably think, well, let's try to get rid of that guy. Unsure if it's just the edit or if Kane is in as much trouble as it seems. It looks like if Ratu loses another match, he's just heading out the door. As far as the showmance goes, since we already have Matthew the Barber, I think Matt, for me, is just going to be known as Dennis Rodman, since he's going so hard for the rebound. It's interesting the different language being used by each side of the showmance. If you put the words down on paper, it feels like maybe Dennis is being a bit more romantic, while Franny might be more in that friendly side of the relationship. I think if Franny's a real player, she gets in good with Claire, makes it clear that she's stringing Dennis along as an easy vote out since he can't vote back, and then she just drops him as soon as she can. I think that's the move to go with. Maybe that's too ruthless. Maybe the real life is actually coming into play and Franny won't think of that, but I think that'd be the move to go with. I couldn't believe that we didn't see more obvious talk of suspicion for Carolyn by the Tika tribe. In an interview after the show, Helen said that she did actually suspect Carolyn, but that the group was together and Carolyn was off on a walk when they returned to the birdcage, and so for some reason, she made it sound like that makes her less suspicious, but it seems like that would, if anything, make you more suspicious of Carolyn. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I feel like Carson might have turned on Helen, not just because Sarah didn't have a vote, but also because Helen was the one that volunteered for the Savvy Challenge. Carson sat and made someone volunteer him. Helen went ahead and stepped up, and I think maybe that might have been a sign that Carson knew that's not the game style I want to play, and let's go ahead and drop Helen. As for Carolyn, 2 episodes in, she's really grown on me. I've really enjoyed watching her, but I can't tell if we're just getting so much of her because she's a great character and she's going to be gone soon, or if the Survivor editors are just going to have a very Carolyn-heavy season. Speaking of screen time, are we getting a purple edit for Josh? I don't think we saw him say a single word in episode 2. Maybe I'm confused there, but it really seems like we're not seeing anything of that guy. I can't wait 4 more days until more Survivor. I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts on episode 2. So far, my predictions have been absolutely dog crap, so I won't make any more. I don't know who's going to be going. I'm pretty much going to be guessing on JSFL. All right, so long.
Good job. Thanks, Brandyn. Here's what you don't know. Off on a walk is code for talking to the producers in a confessional. So the reason that she dampened her suspicion was that they knew that Carolyn was talking to the producers and couldn't have been there. The other thing that Helen shared in her exit interviews was that there was, the way she recalled it, granted it had been months and months ago for her, that the time frame, the way it was depicted in the episode was likely different. Like that could have been the difference between day 4 and day 5. And it wasn't all as compressed in terms of how the sequence of events played out. So it didn't give her as much cause for suspicion. So another good tidbit from the exit interview there. Thanks, Brandyn. Next up, we got a call from Boother.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy, and all you Survivor fans. This is Boother calling in. This episode was full of surprises. The first one I want to talk about is Matthew. Here I thought, with his dislocated arm in a sling, he'd be an anchor for his team in any immunity challenge. But no. Instead, he's the star of the show. He wins the challenge for his team by solving that puzzle. Then we learn he had practiced before the show. He had built that exact same puzzle in his backyard and practiced. He had a great advantage in that. So, Carson is not the only one who's been practicing their Survivor skills, and that's great to hear. Speaking of Carson, I was surprised he abandoned his alignment with Helen and Sarah and throws Helen under the bus to join Yam Yam and Carolyn. My thought is Carson felt Helen was his Survivor intellectual equal, and he needed to get rid of the competition. Who knows? Hopefully, we'll find out. Next, I want to talk about Danny. Danny was so much fun to watch as he found the key and got the idol. The joy, his happiness just came through the screen so well. It was fun to watch. Finally, let's talk about Carolyn. Carolyn, who we all thought was a crazy, crazy Carolyn from episode 1. Now we learn she's a dedicated and loving mom. Her perseverance showed in this episode as she climbed a tree, battled a snake, finally found the key, and got the immunity idol. One thing that is interesting, that she might get mixed up between which is the fake and which is the real idol. Or is Danny's idol the beads and the amulet the fake? In Carolyn, it's the opposite. If that's the case, it's a little confusing. So, looking forward to seeing what everyone has to say. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, it is confusing, Boother. I agree. And there's a reason for how they got it all set up. More on that to come. So you guessed it. They've flip-flopped what's real and what's fake between the different tribes. Okay, we'll get to more of that in a few minutes. Next up, we got a call from Jessie.
Hi, Jen and Stacey. This is Jessie calling in again. I really loved episode 2. I thought that because, the tribes and no one went on a journey, they didn't have this Shipwheel Island thing, so we got to see a little bit more of the tribe dynamic, which I really enjoyed, and I think that's really important to understand how the game pans out. So both Danny and Carolyn just showcased great personality moments when they found their idols. I mean, Carolyn kind of overshadows everyone else with her personality, but even Danny was really fun, and I loved his joke that, let me go show everyone my idol. Just kidding. Kudos to both of them for finding the idol. No one suspects either of them. They didn't tell anyone. That is the way you should do it. And then at the challenge, I thought it was really interesting that they highlighted that Claire is sitting out again. I didn't think it was such a big deal to sit out of 2 challenges, but the fact that they really highlighted that makes me think maybe that becomes important later on, or maybe she's an important character for the season. And then another thing, after Matthew won that and revealed that he had built it in his backyard, we actually got a montage of Carson and all the challenges that he built. And I thought that was an interesting decision too, to highlight Carson. I mean, he didn't win the puzzle for his tribe. He hasn't won any puzzles for his tribe yet. And it was actually Matthew's moment, and they made it about Carson. So I thought that was interesting too. That indicates to me that Carson is also an important character moving forward. And I thought it reflected a lot about Matthew, because of course you should keep that kind of thing to yourself, that you don't seem like a threat. And back when Tyson was on, I think it was Blood versus Water, and he also had a shoulder injury, and he played it up and nursed it, and he overdid it because he didn't want people to think that he was strong, whereas Matthew's no, I want people to know that I'm strong and that I'm good, and I think it reflects kind of poorly on him, makes him seem a little insecure that he needs that much to know that he's strong. Yeah, very exciting tribal council. If I was Carolyn, I definitely would have played the idol just to be safe, so kudos to her for making the right decision and not playing the idol. Anyways, looking forward to hear what everyone thinks. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of thoughts on all of Carolyn.
Yeah, definitely called that right. It's a lot of Carolyn discussion this week. Thanks, Jessie. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Erin in Canada. Hi, Joanne and Stacey. That was a great episode. My favorite line from the recap was when Stacey said that Cuckoo was her cover. I giggled, but I think there may be some truth to that. There absolutely is. Yeah, you could see how well it played into covering deeper suspicion towards her. The people we least expect to go far in the game do. At least that has happened the last 3 seasons. Yep. I was impressed that Danny had no intention of telling anyone about his idol. How refreshing, huh? I think he is playing a good game, but he's also a lone wolf. He will have to slow down and make some alliances soon. Question, is there a limit on the amount of times a contestant can opt out of challenges in a row, or is it different for reward and immunity challenges? Have a great week. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Thanks, Erin. The limit on sitting out challenges comes when they're doing a reward challenge and an immunity challenge in a game cycle. This past game cycle was 2 days, day 4, day 5. It only had 1 challenge that was combined reward and immunity. And so that counter resets now that game cycle's done. So there's not a limit when you're going between game cycles, whether it's a 2-day, 3-day. Sometimes we even get 1-day game cycles where when they've combined the reward and immunity like that. And so she's clear to sit out again on the next one. I think part of what you're highlighting and part of what Jessie was talking about before is the perception and why we were shown that clip. And I also believe because it's going to be important in the future, that seems likely. And then part of it is just down to the basics. They invest such a huge amount of effort into building the challenges. And when you get someone like Claire or the classic with Sandra, who sit out over and over and over again, they never take an opportunity to do what Probst loves the most, which is dig deep in a challenge. Well, it doesn't sit good with him. So it's like you're ignoring all that hard work they put in. And that's been what we got this week with her sitting out again. And then that quip that she had in the first episode, which, all of this for a Flint kind of thing. I think that probably set Probst down a road with her. And so he's not feeling totally hospitable towards her at this point. She's, bowing out of big portions of the game and doesn't think much of what's been put in front of her so far. So that's my read on it, at least. Hopefully that answers your question about sitting out. I think that's going to come up again and some more of the feedback. Maybe the next one. Thanks, Erin. Next up, we got a call from Shahin.
Hi, Joanna, Stacey, and to all the Survivor fans. Hope everyone is well. So I had a vibe during Jabek that Kane would go early, and I think the start of the episode kind of solidified for me. I think he'll be the next out of Ratu to go. I just don't have a good feeling. I don't think he's made a good decision. Good on Jessie from last week to get that Matthew call completely right. Good on you. But I don't think he's made those relationships as well as what he thinks he has, and I think he might go if they go to tribal. And him playing with a sword kind of gave me Matthew Amazon vibes there. Just put it away, dude. I think Carolyn and Jam will go very deep in the game. I voted for Carolyn. I got the tribe right this week for a vote off, but I just got the wrong person. I just put on Carolyn as a litmus test. I told myself either she leaves this week, and last week's was a bit of like a play for the contestants, or she'll go deep in the game. And now I think for me, she's just going to go very deep, and I think that relationship with Jam's going to be very pivotal for both of their survival. I think they're very loyal to each other. And look at tribal. I want to know what's the rules on wildlife for the survivor set. So do we know if there's any animal repellents, like an ultrasonic pulse device that's used to clear off any of the animals or specific animals? Because they may be a bit concerned. I just kind of did a little bit of research because I wasn't sure about how venomous animals could be on Fiji, and the Fiji snake appears to be highly venomous. So I'm just curious if the both of you happen to know if there's any rules on that. Going to Danny, I think Danny placed that coin back in the bag. It looked like it was weighted in comparison to Carolyn's, and I hope contestants are allowed to rehide the key, because I hope Danny did that. Mm-hmm. I hope Danny ultimately was able to make it look like an idol is still in there.
Right.
And I hope it gets found if he has hidden the key, because I think it would be more valuable pre-merge as opposed to post-merge, because I think everyone would then know about, this fake idol business wandering around. And now with Claire, how is she able to take consecutive challenges off? Has there been a rule on that? Should there be a rule? I just feel like she's gamed the system by just constantly not pairing these challenges. She's not expending energy, so she's got more mental capacity, I feel, to make any strategic moves. A bit scared for Jam, the way he slid down, not for his back, but for his leg. His leg looked like really straight, so you've got to brace yourself. Just be careful. We've seen injuries already. I think it would have been the smart play for Sarah not to reveal her information just yet, so that's fine for me, but I think Carson needs to be very careful in this diplomat position that he's in at the moment. Will it be beneficial for him to, continue with that three-way with Jam and Carolyn? I think they might have cut a lot from the tribal. I think we were a bit light on content. And do we think that it could be an advantage within this chess play that we've got going on? Don't know if they've ever done it in other versions of Survivor, so let's see. Thanks for all that you do.
Thanks, Shahin. Well, I already covered the whole back-to-back challenge thing just prior to your call there. The question about wildlife, historically, it depends, I think, on the risk, the threat level. If you go back to Survivor Africa, they had men armed with rifles available and watching the area where the castaways were in the different tribes, because the threat from the big predators was so significant, and they had those BOMOs for them, and they tightly controlled where they couldn't go. And you go back and look again, in obviously Africa, the dangerous place in Gabon, they could only get in the water in a metal cage. Things like, I think that was Gabon. I might be, maybe that might have been Guatemala. Yeah, I think that was Guatemala because of the crocodiles. I can't remember what they're called down there. Anyway, and they have had people go out and sort of police the area, things like that. But I looked up that snake too that you're talking about, the bolo snake in Fiji, and it is very venomous, but it's also isolated from what they know to just one island and is almost never seen. So, and I think the one that she touched and spooked there in the tree was a boa constrictor. The more dangerous things are in the water with the sea snakes, although it's really hard for them to bite you because they have really small mouths, even though they carry like 20 times more venom than the land snakes. And then I forget what it is a rockfish or a stonefish. Anyway, there's a real poisonous fish, and not to mention the man-o-wars, the jellyfish that can hurt you really bad. So more so stuff in the water. And with that fish, it's really hard to see it too. They don't scrub the fish out of the area or anything like that. I imagine they still do it, but we used to hear about them giving briefings before the game started on the wildlife in the area. So what it looked like, what to be aware of, things like that, as well as some basic survival skills. They probably don't do that anymore though, because we don't ever hear anybody talking about that in the post-game interviews. Good deal. Thanks, Shahin. Next up, we got a call from Sandi.
Hi, everybody. This is Sandi in Atlanta, the worst JSFL player in the world. First, I was in a hurry, okay? I had listened to the podcast, but I don't think anything sank in. And I thought I had picked Danny, but no, Sandi picked Franny. Now, I love the Franny and Matt duo. They are hysterical, but honey, that snort's going to get irritating after 30 days. But I love the other tribe members' reactions to it. It's so funny. But did you notice there was no Danny? He was not around in any of those scenarios. And the other tribe doesn't care. They're there for an added vacation, a little nappy time. Who picked them? So anyway, at the immunity challenge, what was Jeff's thing about asking, what was her name that sat out, if it was a tribe decision or a individual decision, and then just went, hello? What was that about? But good on Matt for making a snake puzzle in his backyard. Well, you think that'll eliminate the whole snake puzzle, or they'll just draw something else? No. Speaking of snakes, why would you climb a tree really high and put your hand in a hole? And there would not be a key there. And there's a snake. I would have passed out and fallen on the ground. But no, she did her thing. And Carolyn was, I don't understand her. What is the thing where she gets happy and she lays on the ground and kicks her legs and throws leaves? I don't understand it. And her makeup is staying on through everything. What's the deal with that? Has she got a mirror in the camp? I think Carolyn may end up to be one of the last to stand, but Yum Yum and Carson want to be with her on as a group, and I don't understand that. But I guess strength, okay. I really loved the episode. I thought it was really great. But now that Tika has only got 4 players, do you think there'll be a tribe mix-up soon? Also, gosh darn it, I love the roster. Do not get me wrong. But I had no idea Kane was so tall and that Helen was so tiny. But I love the roster. It's the best. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Sandi. Yeah, definitely a lot of fun in this week's episode. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. I actually like this episode better than the premiere, I think, as gameplay goes, as getting to know some of these characters a little bit goes. But I'm just going to tell you, in case you're wondering how I'm making my picks so far, because, yes, I did get my picks in this week. The first week, I picked my USB, and basically, since my USB was based on facial hair, I just went ahead and picked all the other bearded guys as safe. This week, though, I went with who I thought was all the nerds. So I don't know, just kind of like still judging books by their cover here. And anyone who looks kind of dorky, I was like, yeah, you're going to be safe for today. And I didn't get the vote out pick, but I did get, I think I did get all the safe picks. So I'll take that for now. Hopefully now that I know all the personalities a little bit better, I'll be able to make some more informed decisions. But yeah, I thought Kane was toast, but I think if they had gone to tribal council, then he would have been. So he kind of lucked out, at least for now. But yeah, I think the challenges, I don't know, I kind of harped on this in the past, but I remember the days where the challenges were kind of simple but kind of harrowing. Nowadays, it's just like this really elaborate, really beautifully constructed, right? Like these relay sort of things, which are kind of fun, but honestly, like halfway through, I'm like, oh, what are they even doing? Like, what is this step? I was watching with Charlie, the challenge, and I said, I did not even remember that what are they doing? Like, when they were making the bridge, I think, I was like, what? I was like, oh, they got to pull it, and then, like, it locks in, and then they can all, okay. I was like, well, whatever, just I'm watching, and just wait and see who finishes. Because really, the challenge is just a means to an end, right? So, it's how we get to tribal council, it's how we know what's gonna, or like work on what's gonna happen next. So, I'm liking my USB. Matthew, still waiting to see how long his hair is. He has a pretty impressive man bun, but gotta get that hair down one of these days and see just how long he's been working on that. Of course, that's really, really important information. It's crucial as far as street cred when it comes to a long-haired man. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stop talking now because I'm incoherently rambling at this point. But hope everyone has a good weekend. We'll see what happens next. I have no idea what's gonna happen. By the way, Nina and Julie, my wife, of course, I want to thank them for the individualized reminders as far as picks, as far as reminding me that the show is actually happening. So between the two of them, my alarm, which I still haven't set, but yeah, I'll be doing okay for JFL and Fight Challenge this year. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Drew. Looks like you'll get your wish based on the next time on Survivor. I think it was Jamie that was working on Matthew's hair when he was talking about not intending to play an honest game. So, yeah, you'll probably get to see how long that is. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. It's David in Pittsburgh. Well, that was a good episode. I thought it was a lot of fun and also very tense, but I agree with you, Joanne. It had one thing wrong with it, and that was it was not an hour and a half like last season. From the chaos of the first tribal council to the search for the birdcage key, I just really enjoyed it, the way the players were playing. And I think they're playing hard and strategic and dorky. And no, I'm not looking at Carolyn. I'm looking at Matt and Franny. Last week, I suspected that Carolyn was going to become a fan favorite. Even at first, she was driving me crazy, but now I'm really enjoying the way she's so emotional, how she's reacting. But she's gone from being emotional to showing us that she doesn't give up. And I also like the way they compared her search to Danny and how they both approached taking out the idol. And Carolyn just goes rushing back to camp, so excited about it, and then suddenly realizes, oh, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have left the cage unlocked and empty. I am wondering about Tika's tribal council and the way the votes went down. I don't think that the others know that Carolyn has an idol. I really, less Jam, but I just don't think she's told anybody. But I think Sarah might have told Carson that she doesn't have a vote, and that may have made his decision for him. As far as Helen, like Maddie, we just never really got to know them. I felt that she was great at puzzles, but then they've also got Carson. So maybe he also saw that we don't need two smart players who are good at puzzles. But I was sad to see her go. And looking at my pre-Pride alliance, all six are still playing the game. We've got Carolyn pairing up with Jam. And yes, I looked up pansexual. It's, I guess, the same as saying bisexual. Ratu, Matthew is well situated. He helped win that challenge for them. And at SoCal, we've got Invisible Josh and bench sitting Claire and dorky Franny, who I think also is identifying as pansexual. But anyway, all six players are still in the game, which I think is remarkable. And I keep thinking, can it be that we're going to get another game winner like season one? To be honest, I was going to pick Claire for my USB, but the way she's playing or not playing bothers me. And Jam is the one I picked, but he's just so exuberant. I just don't think he's going to win it, but I'm having fun watching him. But now I think I could also vote for Carolyn. So looking forward to the next episode. Let's see how this goes. Bye.
Thanks, David. Yeah, the editors are definitely trying to make us like her even more. So I suspect we're in for more of the same in week 3. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and I am not happy. I lost my USB. Helen 2 episodes in. Are you kidding me? And I understand. I will say Carson and Jam Jam are my top 2 of this episode. I really loved both of them, and I understand Carson's decision 100%. I'm frustrated it wasn't Carolyn because I find her unbearably annoying. But that being said, I get it, especially they don't know this, but Sarah lost her vote, so it was bound to tie anyway, right, because Jam Jam isn't going against Carolyn. But I'm just so mad that it was Helen. Why could it have been Sarah? She's so boring. She has an overpowered advantage. Knock those 2 things out right now. The boring player and the overpowered advantage. Gone. Get out of here. What? Why Helen? She had so much potential. The Green Tribe got a lot of content this episode, which I was all in for. I think Matt and Franny could be really annoying, but for now, they're cute. It's wholesome, whatever. I think Claire, she's there, but she gives us just enough where we're like, oh, okay, Claire, I see you. Josh and Heidi are just invisible, which I don't know why, because, Josh has this, big emotional story that I'm just, waiting to see, but he's just got nothing so far. But Danny, unexpectedly, super fun. I did not see this coming. I just saw the generic American dad type, which sometimes, it hits, sometimes it misses. That's kind of what I expected from Danny. But in the same way that Brandyn did, he has this super goofy side to him. He pulled off getting the bag way better than Brandyn and Carolyn did. And in the preview for next week, we see him rolling around and he's eating the paper and stuff like that. He flossed when he found the idol, which is super fun. And he was just so excited, and he just has this goofy energy about him. Yeah, Team Danny, let's go. I'm on board for that 100%. I feel like Danny could be my favorite player of the season if he's around long enough to be my favorite. But from what I'm seeing now, I really like the guy. Orange Tribe, about what I expected. And Stacy, you did not give Matthew enough credit. I knew that. I didn't leave feedback last week, but I knew that was why he played the shot in the dark, because he didn't want to make the decision. And he saw the numbers going on Brandyn, but he just wanted to keep the peace, right, for his own game. Told Brandyn, or at least Maddie said in her exit interviews, which, sometimes those aren't true, told Brandyn to play the idol because the target was on him. You gotta give the guy more credit. I know he was stupid and climbed the rocks or whatever, but he's a good player, and I think we saw that this episode. We saw the payoff from that. Brandyn rebounded well. Kane, tough spot. Lauren, she's still really good. I enjoyed her. Yeah, Jamie's just kind of there. But yeah, that's all I got. I will see you guys next time.
Thanks, Parker. Good job, bud. Next up, we got a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans. This is Cameron from North Carolina. My apologies for missing week 1. I was talking to Kim about it, and, it's like you hit adulthood and you get a job, and all of a sudden it's like your busiest days can sometimes be your days off of work. So that's just kind of what happened. But, hey, I'm here for the rest of the season. I'm here now. Glad to be here. It's season 44. Talk about tension you can cut with a knife. Man, when Ratu got back from Tribal at the beginning of the episode, there was not much going on in favor of the friendliness of the camp or in favor of the kumbaya nature, as Aubrey might have put it.
Right.
They were very tense, and rightfully so. That's just kind of how Survivor's getting these days. Very cutthroat, very competitive. I think right out the gate, one of my favorites overall has to be Carolyn, just based on who she is as a person. I very much do like that. Man, that birdcage trick, we think she got away with it, but like Joanne was saying in the recap, I very much agree that the edit is getting a little too tricky these days, and not for its benefit, maybe. We saw 4 votes at Tribal Council. What the heck was that about? I really hope they come back to that, and I think it'd be very, very weird if they didn't this early in the season, so I very much hope they do. Maybe they were pulling the wool over our eyes with Carolyn. We saw her get off scot-free, essentially, and make it past Tribal with the idol in her pocket. Do they really not suspect her? Who knows? Is she really good with Carson and Jam Jam? Who knows? We'll just have to see. Matthew saved Ratu at that challenge today. I went to grab a glass of water right at the beginning, and I walked back in after a minute, think to myself, oh darn, Ratu's got to go to Tribal again. But nevertheless, there was some persistence in that challenge. Matthew saved Ratu toward the end, so good for them on having to not go to Tribal twice in a row. One thing I'm noticing these days, it's like there's a trend of men getting on Survivor who aren't even legally allowed to drink yet. but just have the biggest sets of britches. Think about like Michael from Ghost Island or like Sammy last year. But mostly, I mean, they were like Adonis type men. They were just huge. I wouldn't have suspected they were teenagers anyway. But you got Carson this season, and Carson's grinding my gears out the gate a little bit too. Definitely big for his britches. I think he has a smart social strategy, but I very much got the vibe that he's trying to play it from like a puppet master standpoint and not a competitor, I want to play with these people standpoint. So that's going to lead to his downfall if he can't improve that for sure. Sure enough, I'm a genius, and I had Helen and Carolyn safe in JSFL this week. So, of course, by the time it was coming down to the vote, I was just, like, shaking in my boots. I knew I'm screwed. What else could I say? I even had Bruce as my good old USB Grand Poobah last week, so that's out of the picture, too, for me. Good, I did not get back into the side challenge quite yet. I hope too soon, but man, this was not the season to do it, thankfully. I didn't notice Jam at the end, like you said. Stacy's, him and Carolyn exchanging the glances. I'll have to keep a better eye out next time for next Tribals and see what goes down. Glad to be back. Glad to hear what everyone has to say this week. Joanne and Stacy, Survivor fans, see y'all next week.
Great to have you back, Cameron. Yeah, with the votes, the Tika Tribal Council votes, when they got to 3, they didn't need to show anymore. Not that there was any more to show because of Sarah not having one, but 3-1, she's out. So even if there was a 4th, it didn't matter one way or another. I don't know if that'll come up or not. Maybe Sarah's going to ask Carson about why he flipped, although she may have known. Perhaps, I don't know. He probably kept that from her because he was worried she was going to tip Helen off. But hopefully they'll be able to work through that and find their way forward. They're going to be on shaky ground just like Ratu is, like you were talking about. Thanks again, Cameron. Next up, we got an email from Josh, the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, my mind's been elsewhere this week, so I wasn't as into this episode as I was at the premiere. It seemed like a solid one, though, and Dr. Will was purple, which is a good thing. My other observations. Matthew used his shot in the dark to find out where he stood. If he ever needs to save himself, he'll know exactly where he stands without it. Exactly. Perfect. Elementary school teacher Lauren knows that 1 vote plus 1 vote equals 2 votes. Kane, yeah, she could probably use that in a lesson when she gets back, huh? Kane is Brandon's #1 person to distrust. Matt's Toto-like dog was taken by his ex. Was she riding a bicycle? Nice Wicked Witch reference there. I'm sure he would get a kick out of that. Brandon telling Kane it's all good sounded like when your spouse tells you it's fine. Matt and Franny make an absolutely adorkable couple. That's a new word. I like that. Ernest the stick bug can't hold a candle to Mark the chicken. I'm pretty sure Mark would eat him. Jam wants to poop in the ocean. Carolyn digs through poop to get what she wants. Danny did a great job of covering his tracks. It's almost like he's had to do that before. Tika noticed that the bag had been touched. Their hint, was it swinging without any wind? The editors goofed. Carolyn's birdcage caper needed the Mission Impossible theme. That would have made it all the more comical for sure. Tika's birdcage analysis was a backdoor pilot for CBS's latest spinoff, CSI Fiji. That sounds exactly like something they would do, too. Carson, if I read books on car repair, that doesn't make me an auto mechanic. It's like Cameron was talking about. Carson is always on deck with the humble brag. Given how bad the Tika 4 are at body language, I'd love to play poker with them. Yeah. 2 tribes have fishing gear, but neither set came with a Jonathan. Oh, exactly. If Claire isn't careful, Jeff will name the 2.0 sit-out bench for her. Matthew built a snake maze in his backyard. You can't do that in an apartment. I hated hearing Jeff say, Josh, drop the ball so much. He mustn't listen to this podcast. Carson wants to rely on his social gut. At only 143 pounds, he doesn't have the other kind. The producers need new challenges. Too many are getting a leg up by trying it at home. Yeah, there could be something to that. Meat shield, strategic shield. Is Jam the first to use a kook shield? Yeah, the cuckoo shield. I'm confused. How is making letters with your hands different than saying a name? Well, those are the two kooky ones being clever, I think. I wonder how the revote would have gone if Carson had switched and it was 2-2. Yeah, it would have been interesting, huh? It'd really come down to calling a bluff between Carson and Jam Jam. Jam Jam says everyone's using radar at camp. Is his hat a radar dish? It looked big enough to be. Carolyn saw a squirrel at tribal council. Yeah, easily distracted. Jeff says blindsides are Survivor. So are bad breath and aqua dumps. Make of that what you will, huh? Carolyn cries when papaya is ripe. I cry when onions are sliced. Given how Tika acted, the original occupant of the birdcage was a cuckoo. Carolyn telling Jeff she was staying in a calm, confident voice seemed out of character. It did, didn't it? Well, it's part of the flips that happen with that personality there. Sarah's lucky that her lack of a vote wasn't exposed at tribal council. Yeah. On the other hand, that's kind of the sequence of events that started Helen's eviction, huh? She didn't have a choice, so Sarah lost her vote, and it kind of kicked all that off. Carolyn was freaked out by the chessboard, but at least she didn't get checkmated. Kane, where there's smoke, there's fire, but where there are crabs, there isn't firewood. As weird as it sounds, Carolyn may be this season's Kaiser Sose. Yeah, no doubt. She could easily pull it off. It's like just enough cuckoo, and now nobody looks that direction. Note to future survivors, wear out your tribe, and you'll be free to look for idols. That's working for Danny, isn't it? Next time Kane practices sword play, Jam Jam falls down at camp, and Danny runs like Peter Pan. Was he racing for potato chips? Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all you do. I can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Good job, Josh. Enjoyed that. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I was so sad that Helen got voted out. I didn't have her safe. She was not my USB. But I loved her, and I thought she was just an amazing player. Here's my question. When is it too soon to vote out an ally? And that's my question to a player like Carson, because he had a great ally in Helen, and is the first tribal like way too soon to get rid of somebody that you think could be a threat down the road? Not really sure. I guess time will tell. It reminds me of Generation X versus the Millennials when they voted out Michaela, and nice I think reference. It came back to bite them in the tushy later, because Michaela would have been such a great person to have on their side, and I think they cut her too early. So that's my question for this week. When is too early to get rid of a good player? It was really fun to see all the camp activity this week. I love Matthew and Franny. I wrote down, I love their glasses. They are so cute with their glasses. And it was very funny how Heidi and Claire kept side-eyeing everything and looking like they just wanted to throw up at how cute they were being. But I think they're a great twosome. I also really loved how they kept going back and forth with the bird cages. And here's something very interesting that I didn't catch until I looked at other feedback. So when Caroline found, she got into the bird cage, I thought she was mistaken, and the coin was the decoy, because the coin had been the decoy when Danny found it, but it was switched for her. So they're going to be able to completely mess with each other come the merge, because things are going to be different depending on which original bird cage it first came in. I loved how Danny knew to kind of reload the bird cage so nobody could tell anybody had been in it. Carolyn didn't. But, she did show a little bit more strategy this week. So let's all not write her off yet. I think she's going to stick around for a while. I think she's going to go long into the game and be one of those players that everyone's kind of shaking their heads going, how come no one's voting her off? But again, I guess time will tell. Anyway, that's all I got. I've been studying jazz for about 3 hours, and I'm kind of burnt out right now. But I'm up to a 95.91 in my class, awesome. And I've got one more week until the final. So I'm just hanging out in Hawaii, studying, and riding my bike whenever I take a break. I hope everyone's doing great. Can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. Bye. Oh, this is Rebecca in Oahu.
Thanks, Rebecca. I think you cracked the code on how to take classes remotely there. Sounds like you're doing great. Keep up the good work. Next up, we got a call from Noelle.
Hi everyone, it's Noelle calling from Albuquerque. I really liked that episode. It was really fun. I was so worried about Carolyn. I have been thinking all week, I wonder if it's going to be hard for her to keep a secret. She's so expressive. But then watching the episode, I decided she's so expressive that she's hard to read. Mm-hmm. So that works in her favor maybe. I had Carson as the vote out. So when she started crying, when he started talking at Tribal, I thought, oh, maybe she's crying because she feels so bad that she's voting him out. But that didn't happen. But on the other hand, he is so smart that he figured out that Helen had the idol and then destroyed his alliance. That was a good consolation prize. That was funny to watch. Although Helen's parting message was devastating. I'm sad that we're not going to get to see more of her. She seemed like a really cool person. As for the other tribes, Ratu, did Kane find an idol? Did somebody find a replacement idol? I don't think they did. And I don't think there is going to be one. But who knows? I don't have a good read on that stuff. I really wish Lauren hadn't told everybody about her extra vote. Like, what's the point of having it? It's just more fun when it's a secret. Maybe she had to tell. I can't really tell who's in trouble on that tribe. It kind of seems like everyone's in trouble. But I don't know. Who's in an alliance even? It's really hard to tell what's going on with Ratu. So, and I don't think they're going to have to go back to tribal soon. I don't know. Matthew, I don't know about him. He's kind of extra. Soka tribe. Okay, so I think I owe Stacey an apology because I was like, last week I said, it'd be so funny if Stacey was on this tribe and he had to pretend he wasn't annoyed by Franny and Matt. You know what, Stacey? I'm sorry. I think I was projecting. I think I was the one who was annoyed by Franny and Matt. And I projected it onto you for some reason. But then Claire was making that face at them. I thought, yeah, that's probably the face I'd be making. I'd be like, ugh, okay, you guys, whatever. I love Danny. He's so funny. I almost picked him as my USB, but I just kept thinking about Joanne getting burned when she picked the firefighter in season 38. We haven't had a firefighter winner in a long time, and I just wasn't feeling like taking a risk on him. Although I guess Carolyn's a risk too. Who knows? Anyway, he's fun to watch. He kind of reminds me of Tony with all of his like endless energy. And I also feel like his behavior is a good mask for what he's doing out there because it seems like the rest of his tribe is so used to him being off in the jungle that they don't even think that he's got the idol. Of course, you know, we only see what they show us, so maybe they're onto him. Who knows? I think that's it for me. The only other thing I was going to say was I really wish that we got those post-tribal sequences, the ones where it's all dark and they get back from tribal and they're talking about what happened at tribal. I really wish those were in the same episode as the tribal and we didn't have to wait a whole week to see them. I guess I'm expecting Carson to gloat about his brilliant maneuver in getting Helen out and flushing the idol, and that's going to be funny. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Bye!
Thanks, Noelle. Yeah, that's kind of like they're previously on to recap tribal like that. That part of that hook they use, I guess, for people who aren't binging or who aren't frequent watchers as we are, being as dedicated to the show as all of us. Thanks, Noelle. Next up, we got a call from Jill.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey. Hi, Survivor fans. Jill from the Outback here. I think it's funny when people say how good they are after the fact that they've done something like, I think he's Matt, the one with the shoulder, saying how he meant to do all that, get the suspicion off him and everything. I think it's still a waste of the shot in the dark. And then congratulating, is it Jeannie? Congratulating her
Jamie.
For the first person to ever get the shot in the dark right. But I think she totally got it wrong. She just shouldn't have played it at all. That's a whole lot of paranoia to have in week one. And Brandyn was funny when he was saying that he wasn't going to act mad or emotional because, you know, somebody voted for him, and then proceeded to look mad and emotional because somebody voted for him. Franny and Matt, they're too cute. Do we know that's still going on, or was it just a bit of a just for the show, or if they're still together? I don't stalk anyone on social media to know that's out there. I like Danny's move mainly because he played the birdcage idol right, and he doesn't want to go and tell everybody. That's something new in this new age. I'm completely fascinated by Carolyn. She is amazing. She's a little bit of Debbie, a little bit of Reem, and a little bit of crazy. I think she's just great fun. Fun challenge. I'd love to have a go at something like that. Okay, so the first vote off for Helen. I don't know, the first vote for that team is the time to do fancy blindsiding like they did. Helen would have been 100% more reliable and loyal than Carolyn. Carolyn would have been the far more sensible vote to get rid of her. She's just going to be chaotic and all over the place. But I'm so glad Carolyn's still there for the entertainment value. She's going to be great. That'll do. Happy days, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Jill. I agree, but I think when Carson ran the numbers, he came down with what was the best decision for him. Good deal. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremiah here, back with some feedback. Yeah, I missed last week, but I want to make sure I dropped a line this week. And man, when I said during my Jabik predictions that I was excited about this season because of all the characters that we had, whoa, do we have some characters this season? Wow, certainly has been a lot of fun to watch. And of course, as always, there's players that, surprised me in a positive way. I definitely think people like Heidi, and then this week with Carson, I definitely am a lot more impressed with him as well. And another player I feel like I misjudged was probably Jam Jam. Maybe he has a lot more game than I thought, so I'm excited about continuing to watch him as well. Then, of course, you have Carolyn, probably the person most people will be talking about for a long time. I think we really answered your guys' question right away about why did they put Carolyn in that awkward position from the very beginning. Is because they're going to highlight her big time all season. She is just a ball of fun to watch, and I don't really know what to expect from her, so it should be very interesting, although I think she's going to be here for a while. I wanted to take a quick moment to talk a little bit about the handling of idols this year. In particular, of course, this bird cage idea. At first I didn't think I liked it, but the more I think about it, I think I do kind of like this because it gives people a lot more opportunity to at least try to keep it a secret, unlike when we had this whole deal where you had to say the crazy phrase. That pretty much gave it away. Almost everyone knew who had the idol. I like this much better. I also like it better than having to do some kind of crazy task that also can give it away. Basically, if you find a key, you keep it a secret, and then get in there when you can and get the idol out. So I kind of like this. Now, the great Mike Bloom recently made a discovery during his research that the way they're handling this real idol, fake idol, is different for each tribe. So some tribes have the medallion as the real idol and the small beads as a fake one, and then the exact opposites for the other tribes. So when we get to the merge, if these idols are still floating around, real or fake, could cause some fun chaos. So that's kind of exciting. I shared that story on the Facebook group. Overall, that's pretty much what I wanted to get off my chest. I've, of course, been enjoying the season so far, excited to see what else is going to happen. And as far as next time on Survivor, I'm going to go ahead and stick with the person I had trying to go out this past week with Kane. I do think his number is up, and that tribe, there's still a bit of a hot mess, and that's who I'm expecting to go back to Tribal Council, and that's who I'm expecting to go home next week. So there's my prediction, and until next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Yeah, I think you and a lot of others here today really think Kane's still the number one target there. So definitely something to consider when you're making your picks this coming week. And yeah, I saw that post by Mike Bloom on the Survivor subreddit about how the fake idols in one bird cage were the real idols in another bird cage, and how they had linked them together like that. That could be interesting. It almost seems like it's too clever, and I'm wondering if Danny, how that'll play out if Danny hid his fake back in the cage. We saw that Carolyn didn't, and it looked like the fake that Brandyn had, he just kept to himself. So he's probably still got that at this point. So it could come back into play in that regard. That's going to be pretty interesting. Thanks again, Jeremiah. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. So I want to start off my feedback today by saying my biggest thought of the episode was, who is Danny? Who is this Danny that is suddenly on my screen? I completely forgot who he was. So him running around the island, getting the key, opening it, having this immunity idol, I really had no recollection of who he was or anything like that. I thought, new player, second episode, wow. Anyway, I now know who Danny is. I remember him. And good for you, Danny. Matthew started the episode in a good spot. I feel like Lauren has a lot of hubris with her extra vote. That really never bodes well when you're seen bragging about the extra vote. Maybe it might not go her way. Kane's not in a good spot. Brandyn is really mad, and Kane has burned a bridge. I liked the very cool shot of the hammerhead shark. So what we gathered from Matt is that he's having a hard time with his breakup. He has no vote for the next 2 tribal councils, and now he has a crush on Franny. Matt is a little emotional, and the fact that he and Franny are viewed as such an obvious twosome is going to be, I think it's going to be trouble. I liked all of the footage of each of the tribes looking for the key to the birdcage and trying to figure it out. I thought that was very fun. It was a little bit difficult to track, but I kind of found that kind of awesome too. Now, I'm very proud of Carolyn for finding the key and for getting the idol. She's had some really difficult life experiences, and she knows the value of perseverance, and it showed here. But for the love of God, Survivor, why do you choose to tell a story about her searching through her son's, I don't even want to mention it, to find a tooth that he swallowed? Could there have been another story that she could have told about perseverance? I wonder. I thought it was very funny when they came upon the cage and saw that the bag had been tampered with. They're all so suspicious of each other, and none of them suspects Carolyn. That was so good. Anyway, that's all I have for today. It was a really good episode, but really nothing super standout for me. So I'm finished a little bit faster than usual, but I can't wait to hear what others have to say and your perspectives on this second episode of the season. Till next week. Bye.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, I'm curious who's going to be the first one to go off Ahsoka, assuming they actually go before the merge. Because you got Matt's the easy front runner, but they're definitely laying a story for Claire to go too. It doesn't seem like Franny is in as much jeopardy as Matt is. And I'm not seeing, so far we hadn't seen a lot of Matt's interactions with other people. There was that little bit this week you got with Heidi and Claire, and I think Josh even off camera asking him a question, but there's not a whole lot about him making other connections. It's going to be, he's like this season's Owen. He's going to be the Charlie Brown, not ever gaining traction in the game. That's how it looks like he's trending right now. And yes, that is my USB I'm describing. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and yes, she's a Mad Hatter, that's for sure. We've seen some characters on the islands over the years, but this one may take the cake. I had her picked to go, Carolyn, so I was a little upset when I saw her find the key. Of course, in true Carolyn fashion, she immediately screamed to help draw attention to herself, but I have a funny feeling that she's a screamer by nature and that her tribe might be getting used to the random Carolyn noises that are always about. So, yeah, there's that. But, you know, I couldn't help but notice that the fly was down on her pants when she found that key.
I saw that.
But again, totally Carolyn. In many ways, I think her fly may always be unzipped. So, isn't it amazing that not a single person suspected that Carolyn was the one who got into the cage and swiped the idol? I mean, that tells you how capable, or rather uncapable, her tribe views her as being. How does it go? Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how unlikely, must be the truth. But then, when she showed both the idol and the fake idol, Taz and I both thought that she had read it wrong and was going to play the wrong item. And that extra item, the fake idol, well, it sort of rubbed me the wrong way because, come on, now you don't even have to make your own fake idols. But then we realized what was going on, and now I love the idea of each player having a different shaped idol along with a fake of another player's actual idol. Talk about chaos, huh? It's confusing to even talk about. I just can't wait to see how these 6 items play out. So obviously Carolyn is the star of the season so far because I can't talk Survivor without bringing her up first. I do like how Brandyn is being calm and cool around Kane and not making a big deal about his vote. You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Meanwhile, Matt's playing with his heart on his sleeve, which is a dangerous thing to do in Survivor. Has Franny not told him that she's gay? Is she even? I was under the impression that she was, but to me at least, it looks like Matt is falling for her, and she's kinda sorta even leading him on. I hope she realizes that the loser in these couplings is always the female. Oh well. And then there's Danny, who I think might be a tad bit off himself. I expected an alpha male, but he's not that at all, and he seems to have a bit of a charming dorkiness about him. But he's another idol holder, so far things are playing out well for him. And then there's Yam Yam. Yeah, I won't call him Jam Jam because it's my way of getting back at him for helping keep Carolyn in the game. And Carson needs to print out a 3D version of the last tribal council so he can understand why Carolyn should have been the one voted off. Her subtle, freaky nuances were wasted on him, I guess. I wanted to pick Carolyn as next to go for my third week in a row, but I suspect that Yam and Carson will leave before her, and that they're going to end up regretting their choices when she screws up their games. Even when she found the idol, I didn't think it was impossible to vote her out. Instead, I thought it was impossible not to vote her out. So, yeah, I have to believe that Sarah could easily be the next to go. I know that'll disappoint a lot of people here, but rest easy because I'll understand the pain you feel since Carolyn knocked out my USB this week. Lastly, I can't help but wonder if Danny or Carolyn could have taken the entire birdcage and hidden it somewhere. There would have been some chaos there, that's for sure. I only mention this because, well, it's something I'd try to do. Okay, Sarah to go because Tika might as well keep on digging that hole they've started. Everyone have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, I like that idea of just taking the birdcage and chucking it into the ocean like that. That would wind everyone up even more, wouldn't it? Well, it was never something Carolyn was going to consider, but it's interesting to think about. Paul wanted us to mention that on his roster, there's the little hamburger menu on the upper right, or upper left, rather. And if you click on that, there's another link that'll go in and explain all the advantages if you forget about them over time. So not only can you look back at the history, how things changed week to week, but you can see those details of, what exactly is the inheritance advantage and how does it work. Thanks for that, Paul. It's looking great. I like the change to the lettering, too. That really pops now, and you can read it better with who lost their shot in the dark and who has what advantage. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone who took the time to share your thoughts and predictions today. We enjoyed it and appreciate hearing from all of you. We also want to thank David for your donation. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support. If you play in the JSFL, don't forget to make your Week 3 picks for one person voted off and 4 people who are still in the game at the end of the episode. If you want to join us on these listener feedback shows, you can call and leave a voicemail 206-350-1547, toll free 844-643-8737. You can record your own audio the way Rebecca did this week. The quality was greatly improved. Good job, Rebecca. And you can attach it and send it to an email, or you can write it up and send it as an email, and we'll read it into the show on your behalf. The email address is joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback is due noon Pacific time on Saturdays, and we ask you that you keep it in the 3-minute range. Everybody did great this week. Looking forward to the next episode. We'll be back on Wednesday with our next recap. Have a good one.